The night sky glowed with the cold light of two alien moons. The wind howled across the steel bridge, whistling through broken panels and cracked beams. Beneath it, a black river rushed like a silent beast, swallowing anything that dared fall in. A tall alien woman stood at the edge, her silver hair whipping across her face. Her trembling hands clutched the rusted railing. Her eyes, pale violet like frozen stars, stared down into the darkness below. Tears ran down her sharp cheeks. Her skin shimmered faintly, a sign of her species' fading life energy. She whispered softly, "There is nothing left for me here." She took one step closer to the edge, but before she could jump, a strong hand grabbed her arm. "Don't jump," a voice said firmly, calm but filled with pain. She turned quickly, startled. A human man stood behind her. His face was tired, his beard rough, his eyes filled with something she hadn't seen in a long time, concern. He wore an old jacket, clearly repaired many times. Rain dripped from his hair, but he didn't seem to notice. "Let go," she cried, struggling, her voice trembling. "You don't understand, human. My life ended long ago." He tightened his grip but didn't hurt her. "No one's life ends while they're still breathing," he said softly. "Not tonight." She tried to pull away again, but his steady hands didn't let go. For a moment, they both stood in silence. The wind screamed around them and thunder rolled across the alien sky. Finally, she stopped fighting. Her shoulders shook. Why do you care? I am not your kind. My body is broken. I can't give life. I can't be of use to anyone anymore." The human man looked at her closely. "You think being useful means you deserve to live?" he asked. "That's not how it works." She blinked, confused. "Then what do humans live for?" He hesitated, looking down at the river below. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "we live just to make sure someone else doesn't fall." The woman stared at him. There was something in his tone, something raw and human. She could sense he wasn't speaking only to her. He was speaking to himself. "You've lost someone too," she whispered. He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. Then he nodded slowly. "My daughter. 3 years ago. She was 12. The alien woman's breath caught. "I'm sorry," she said softly. He gave a faint, tired smile. "So am I." They stood there together under the rain, strangers from two different worlds connected by loss. "Come down from there," he said finally, extending his hand again. "The bridge isn't a good place to end things or start them." She looked at his hand, uncertain. Her kind was forbidden from touching humans after the last war. But something about his eyes, warm, patient, broken but still kind, made her trust him. Slowly, she reached out and placed her cold fingers in his warm hand. When he helped her step away from the edge, she almost fell, her knees weak. He caught her gently, steadying her against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, strong and human. It made her shiver, not from fear, but from something she hadn't felt in years. "Let's get you somewhere dry," he said. "I don't even know your name," she murmured. "Call me Sam," he said, helping her walk down the bridge. "And you?" She hesitated. "Lyra," she said finally. "My name is Lyra," he nodded. "Well, Lyra, I don't know what brought you up there tonight, but I'm not letting you face it alone." As they walked through the rain toward the dim lights of a ruined outpost, Lyra glanced at him again. This human, this strange, kind creature had stopped her from ending everything. She didn't know why he cared. She didn't know why his eyes carried both pain and hope at the same time. But for the first time in years, she felt a tiny spark inside her chest. Maybe, just maybe, her story wasn't over yet. Far behind them, lightning struck the bridge. For a moment, the entire world flashed white, and a silent question echoed in Lyra's mind. Who was this human? This man who carried his own sorrow, yet still chose to save hers? And why did his touch make her heart remember how to live again? End of part 1. The rain didn't stop that night. It followed them like a cold shadow as Sam guided Lyra across the cracked streets of the old colony town. The once busy human settlement had long been abandoned after the Great Evacuation War. Now it was a ghost city, half buried under vines, half swallowed by silence. Lyra's thin silver cloak clung to her skin, heavy with water. Every step made her stumble, but Sam stayed close, his hand hovering near her shoulder, ready to catch her if she fell again. "You shouldn't have saved me," she said softly. Her voice almost lost under the storm. Sam frowned. "That's not something I'll ever regret." She looked away, uneasy. "You don't know what I am, human. My people called me useless, broken, I cannot bear life. For them, I'm already dead. Sam glanced at her with calm eyes. You're not with them anymore. They stopped in front of an old metal door, half bent from rust. Sam pushed it open with effort and warm air brushed their faces. Inside, a flickering generator lit the small space. The shelter looked worn but lived in. Old furniture, a patched blanket, and a small fire burning in a barrel. Lyra looked around quietly. You live here? He nodded. For now. It's not much, but it's dry. She stepped inside carefully, her long tail dragging across the dusty floor. She had never been in a human home before. Everything felt smaller, heavier, but somehow safe. Sam found her an old towel and a coat. Here, he said, handing them over. You'll freeze if you stay wet. She accepted it hesitantly. Thank you. Sam. For a few minutes, there was only the sound of the rain hitting the roof. Lyra sat near the fire, holding her hands close to the flames. Her skin glowed faintly in the warmth, her alien veins pulsing with a weak blue light. Sam poured 2 cups of steaming liquid into metal mugs. Tea, he said, offering her one. She sniffed it curiously. Tea? Something humans drink when they're cold or sad, he said with a small smile. Or both. She took a sip and blinked in surprise. It's warm, sweet, but strange. Like me. He chuckled softly. For the first time, a small smile touched her lips. It looked fragile, unsure, like sunlight breaking through a storm cloud, but her expression soon darkened again. Sam, she said quietly, your daughter. You said she's gone. He nodded, staring into the fire. Yeah, her name was Anna. Brightest little thing you'd ever meet. When the ships evacuated our sector, her transport was hit by debris. I wasn't there to protect her. Lyra lowered her eyes. You still blame yourself. Every day, he admitted. But saving you tonight. Maybe it's the first time I've done something right in a long while. Lyra's chest tightened. No human had ever spoken to her like that. Not with pity, not with judgment, but with quiet truth. Sam, she said slowly, my people believe that souls who cannot give life are cursed. When my body failed the breeding tests, I was sent away. I wandered for years, searching for a reason to exist. He looked at her and said softly, maybe you were meant to exist for something else. Maybe for this. She tilted her head. For what? He met her gaze. To remind me that not everything broken has to stay that way. Her breath caught. The warmth in his tone felt like a force she couldn't resist. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Only the fire crackled softly between them. Then outside, a faint sound echoed through the storm. Metal footsteps, distant but growing. Lyra's ears twitched. Do you hear that? Sam nodded, standing up quickly. Patrol droids, he muttered. They scan for trespassers. If they find you, they'll report back to the governor. Lyra's pulse quickened. They'll take me back, she whispered, her voice trembling. I can't go back there. Sam moved fast, grabbing his coat and a small pulse rifle from the wall. You won't, he said firmly. Not while I'm here. He turned off the generator, plunging the shelter into darkness. Only the dying firelight flickered on their faces. They crouched behind a broken table as red searchlights flashed through the cracks of the metal door. Lyra held her breath. Sam's hand rested on the rifle trigger. The droids passed by slowly, their mechanical voices humming in alien tones. Then finally the sound faded into the distance. When the silence returned, Lyra exhaled shakily. You could have left me, she whispered. Why do you keep risking yourself for me? Sam looked at her and said in a quiet, steady voice, because someone once risked everything for me, too. It's what humans do. She stared at him, speechless. The warmth of his words reached deeper than she wanted to admit. Outside, the storm eased into gentle rain. Inside, 2 lonely souls, one human, one alien, sat together in the dim light, both scarred by the past, yet unknowingly healing each other. Lyra watched Sam as he returned to the fire. His silhouette glowed faintly, framed by light and shadow. She didn't understand him. Humans were strange, but maybe, just maybe, that strangeness was what made them beautiful. And for the first time since her exile, she whispered silently to herself, maybe I wasn't meant to die tonight after all. End of part 2. The rain had stopped, but the night still carried a strange, heavy silence. The air outside Sam's shelter smelled of wet metal and ozone. The river below the cliffs whispered in the distance, reflecting faint red lights from somewhere far away. Lyra sat beside the dying fire, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Sam had gone out to check the perimeter, leaving her alone. She stared at the flickering embers, her thoughts tangled between guilt and confusion. Why had this human saved her? Again and again. He had no reason to, yet his kindness made her feel something she had buried long ago. Hope. Her fingers brushed against the edge of the mug he'd given her earlier. It was still warm. She smiled faintly, but the peace didn't last long. A low hum began to rise in the distance. At first she thought it was the wind again, but then she heard it clearly. The sharp mechanical whine of engines. Her eyes widened. "No," she whispered, standing quickly. She ran to the door and looked out through a narrow gap. In the distance, glowing eyes cut through the darkness. 4 patrol droids moving in formation. Their scanners swept across the ruins like silent red stars. "Sam," she called softly, panic rising in her throat. No answer. She turned toward the back exit, thinking to hide, but before she could move, the front door creaked open, and Sam stepped in, carrying a half-broken scanner and a heavy expression. "They're back," he said grimly. Lyra nodded, her voice trembling. "They found my signal again, didn't they?" Sam sighed, setting down the scanner. "Your kind's implants. They send out a tracking pulse every few hours. I thought I disabled it last night, but..." He tapped the small device. It started again, her heart sank. "They'll take me back to the laboratories," she said, her voice breaking. "They'll use me for more experiments." "I can't go back there, Sam, I can't." He stepped closer, his tone calm but firm. "Then we won't let them." Before she could respond, a loud metallic thud echoed outside. The droids were close now, too close. Their mechanical voices cut through the silence. "Unauthorized biological detected. Area scan commencing." Sam grabbed his rifle and tossed her a small device. "Here, EMP pulse. If they breach the door, press that button." Lyra stared at it, shaking. "But You can do it," he said sharply. "I'll draw them away. You stay hidden." Her eyes filled with fear. "No, you'll die out there." Sam gave her a faint, tired smile. "Maybe, but not tonight." Before she could stop him, he slipped out through the side door and vanished into the mist. Lyra crouched behind the table, clutching the EMP trigger in her trembling hand. The door shook violently as the droids began cutting through it with plasma torches. Sparks filled the air. "Sam," she whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. Outside, the storm had returned, thunder rolling over the city ruins. She heard bursts of gunfire, flashes of blue light flickering through the cracks. Sam's voice shouted something, then was drowned out by the sound of metal collapsing. The door burst open. A droid stepped through, its red sensors scanning the room. Target identified. Capture alive. Lyra's instinct screamed at her to run, but she didn't move. She pressed the EMP trigger. A burst of white light exploded across the room. The droid spasmed, its limbs locking, sparks flying from its chest before it fell lifeless to the floor. The air filled with smoke and silence again. Lyra coughed, her heart pounding. "Sam," she cried, stumbling toward the door. Outside, the rain came down harder. She ran across the street, her bare feet splashing through puddles, her eyes searching desperately through the smoke. Then she saw him, kneeling beside a burning droid. His rifle cracked, blood on his arm. "Sam!" she shouted, running to him. He looked up, smiling weakly. "You did it," he said. EMP worked. She knelt beside him, touching his shoulder. "You're hurt." "Just a scratch," he said, though his voice trembled. She tore a strip of her cloak and wrapped it around his arm, her hands shaking. "Why do you always risk yourself for me?" He looked into her glowing eyes and whispered, "Because no one deserves to be hunted for being broken." Her heart ached. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he said softly. "You're alive. That's reason enough." Suddenly, a faint beeping came from the destroyed droid beside them. Lyra's head snapped toward it. Its core was still active, transmitting a signal. "They'll send more," she said urgently. "We have to move now." Sam nodded, grimacing in pain as he stood. "Then let's not waste time." Together they moved through the rain, away from the burning wreckage. The night stretched endlessly ahead, dark, uncertain, and dangerous. But as they reached the edge of the ruined city, Lyra looked back one last time. The shelter that had given her warmth was now nothing but smoke and light. She whispered, Thank you, Sam. He looked at her. For what? For teaching me what a real heart looks like. They disappeared into the night, the sound of approaching engines echoing behind them. Neither knew where the path would lead, but for the first time both human and alien carried something new within them. Not just survival, but connection. End of part 3. The forest beyond the ruins was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Trees grew so tall they vanished into the mist above, their roots glowing faintly with bioluminescent veins. Strange creatures chirped and whispered from the shadows, their eyes glimmering like stars. Sam moved cautiously, leading the way with his small lamp. The light cut through the fog in thin lines. Behind him, Lyra followed silently, clutching the corner of his torn jacket. They had walked for hours since escaping the droids. Sam's arm still bled through the bandage she had tied, but he didn't complain. Every few minutes he would glance over his shoulder to make sure she was still there. "You're hurt," she said softly, breaking the long silence. He gave a tired grin. "You should see the other guys." Despite her worry, Lyra smiled faintly, but her gaze soon drifted upward, scanning the branches that seemed to whisper with life. "This place feels ancient," she murmured. "Older than any colony or city." Sam nodded. "It's from before the war. They called it the First Forest. Alien scientists said it was sacred, something about the roots connecting to the planet's core." Lyra stopped walking for a moment, her expression changing. "The roots," she whispered. "My ancestors believed this forest could restore what was lost." Sam turned toward her. "You mean heal?" Her eyes shimmered. "Maybe more than that. They said the forest remembers, that it keeps the life essence of every species that ever lived here." Before Sam could reply, a low hum echoed through the trees. It wasn't wind, it was mechanical. Lyra's body stiffened. "They're coming again," she said. Sam cursed under his breath and quickly motioned for her to follow him down a slope, through a curtain of hanging vines. They reached a clearing where the roots of a massive tree formed a hollow tunnel, large enough for them to crawl into. Inside, it was surprisingly warm. The walls pulsed with soft light, like veins under living skin. Sam leaned back against the inner wall, breathing heavily. "We'll rest here for a bit. They'll lose our trail in the interference." Lyra sat beside him, her fingers brushing the glowing roots. "It's alive," she said in awe. "The forest is still alive." Sam looked around. "If it can hide us, I'll take it." She smiled slightly. "You humans never believe in magic, do you?" He chuckled softly. "We believe in survival." "That's close enough." For a while, silence returned, comfortable this time. The glow reflected in their eyes, casting shifting colors across their faces. Then, suddenly, the roots beneath Lyra's hand pulsed brighter. A faint hum vibrated through the air. Sam frowned. "What's happening?" "I don't know," she whispered. "It's reacting to me." The light climbed her arm like a living ribbon, curling up to her shoulder. She gasped, but it didn't hurt. It felt warm, almost familiar. Sam watched, stunned. "Lyra, are you sure you're okay?" She nodded slowly, eyes wide. It's showing me something." Her mind filled with images, flashes of alien cities, glowing orbs, and her own species standing in this very forest long ago. Voices whispered in her head, ancient and gentle. Then she saw something else, a group of humans and aliens together, working side by side, planting the first of these glowing trees. When she opened her eyes again, tears streaked down her cheeks. "Sam," she whispered, "our species. We were never meant to fight. This forest, it remembers when we were allies." Sam's eyes softened. "That feels like a long time ago." "Maybe," she said, "but it doesn't have to stay that way." The glow slowly faded, leaving behind faint marks on her skin, like vines etched into her arms. Sam noticed. "What are those?" "I think," she said, still in wonder, "it healed something inside me. The sickness, the reason I was called infertile, it's gone." He stared at her, speechless. "You mean?" She nodded. "This forest didn't just remember. It restored." Before they could say more, a harsh sound cut through the calm. A drone's sensor beam swept across the trees outside. Sam grabbed his weapon. "They found us again." Lyra stood beside him, the faint glow on her skin brightening. "No, Sam," she said, her voice steady. "This time we don't run." Outside, the machines drew closer, their red eyes slicing through the mist. But as the first droid stepped into the clearing, the forest stirred. Roots lifted like living serpents, glowing brighter, surrounding the intruders. Sam watched in shock as the forest itself struck. The roots lashed out, crushing the droids with silent fury. Sparks flew, metal cracked, and within seconds nothing remained but silence and steam. Lyra's glow dimmed again, her energy spent. She fell to her knees. Sam caught her quickly, holding her up. "Easy, easy, what just happened?" Her voice trembled, weak but calm. "The forest protected us. It remembered me." He looked at her, awe in his eyes. "You're not broken, Lyra. You never were." She met his gaze, her lips trembling. "Maybe neither of us were." Outside, the storm had cleared. The moons rose again, bathing them in soft silver light. And deep beneath the ground, the roots hummed quietly, echoes of something ancient awakening once more. The forest was calm again, but the silence felt alive. Every leaf shimmered faintly under the twin moons. Mist curled through the glowing roots, and soft whispers echoed from the ground as if the earth itself was trying to speak. Sam stayed close to Lyra, still holding her steady. Her skin no longer glowed as before, but faint silver markings now wrapped her arms, pulsing gently with her heartbeat. She looked exhausted yet strangely peaceful, like someone who had walked through death and returned. "You should rest," Sam said softly, brushing the dirt from her cloak. Lyra shook her head. "No, Sam, the forest didn't just save us. It wanted to show me something important." He frowned. "Show you?" She nodded. "It spoke to me, not with words but with images. Memories. Deep ones. They were buried here for thousands of years." Sam knelt beside her. "What kind of memories?" Lyra placed her hand on the glowing roots. "Our ancestors, the first ones who settled this world. Humans and my kind. They worked together here, long before the wars, before the fear. They built something beneath this forest. Something powerful." Sam's brow furrowed. "Built what?" "I don't know yet," she whispered. "But it's still alive. And it's calling." Before Sam could respond, the ground beneath them rumbled. The roots around their shelter shifted, curling open like massive fingers revealing a hidden passage. Warm light spilled out, golden and soft. Sam blinked in disbelief. "You've got to be kidding me." Lyra smiled faintly. The forest just answered. Despite his hesitation, Sam helped her up. Together, they descended into the glowing tunnel. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. Symbols began to appear on the walls. Ancient carvings in both human and alien language. Lyra traced them with her fingers. These markings, they talk about the bond of creation. "What's that?" Sam asked, walking beside her carefully. "It was a project between our ancestors," she explained. "They believed that by joining human resilience and alien energy, they could create something eternal, life that would never fade." Sam let out a low whistle. "And you think that's what's still running under this place?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, and I think it's what cured me." The tunnel finally opened into a vast chamber glowing with blue and gold light. In the center stood a massive crystal, taller than both of them, pulsing with life. Its surface rippled like liquid glass, and every pulse matched Lyra's heartbeat. Sam stared in awe. "That's beautiful." Lyra approached it carefully. "It's not just a crystal," she whispered. "It's alive. A core of living energy, connected to the memories of every being that ever touched this world." She placed her hand on its surface, and the chamber brightened. A low hum filled the air, and a holographic figure appeared above the core, a woman with silver skin and human eyes. Her voice was gentle, echoing like wind through glass. "If you can hear this, the time has come. The bond must be restored." Sam's mouth dropped open. Who is that?" Lyra's eyes widened. "That's Seraphine, the founder of the Unity Accord. She disappeared centuries ago." The hologram continued. Our two species were never meant to be enemies. Together we hold the key to balance, but fear and pride tore us apart. If the bond fails, this world will wither, and all life will fade. The light dimmed, and the image flickered out. Only the hum of the crystal remained. Sam took a step back, his voice low. So, this thing is like a heart, keeping the planet alive. Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, and now it's dying. He looked at her. You said it healed you. Maybe it's linked to you now. Her gaze met his. If that's true, then maybe I can restore it. Sam's eyes widened. No. You're weak. You almost collapsed last time. Lyra smiled sadly. Sometimes healing something else means breaking yourself first. Before he could stop her, she stepped closer to the core and pressed both hands against it. The light flared, wrapping her in a web of gold and silver energy. Her markings glowed brighter and tears streamed down her face as she whispered, Please, remember us. The crystal responded, flooding the chamber with waves of light. Memories, millions of them, flashed around them like echoes of the past. Humans shaking hands with aliens, cities growing, children laughing under two suns. Then war, fire, silence. Sam shielded his eyes, shouting over the noise, Lyra, stop! You'll kill yourself, she turned to him, smiling through the pain. I'm not dying, Sam. I'm giving life back. And then suddenly the light vanished. The chamber grew still. Smoke curled around the core, now glowing a steady, calm blue. Lyra collapsed forward, and Sam caught her in his arms. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Lyra, he whispered, shaking her gently. Talk to me. Her eyelids fluttered open. It's done, she murmured weakly. The bond is alive again. Sam looked at the crystal, its light reflecting in his eyes. You did it. She smiled faintly. No, we did. Above them, the forest roared with new life. The roots pulsed, flowers bloomed from dead branches, and warm air rushed through the tunnels like the breath of a waking giant. For the first time in centuries, the planet itself was alive again. Sam held Lyra close, feeling her heartbeat match the rhythm of the world around them. You saved more than yourself, he whispered. You saved all of us. Her lips curved into a soft smile. And maybe that's what I was meant for. The first sunrise after the awakening was breathtaking. Light spilled across the forest in waves of gold and green. The trees shimmered as if dusted with diamonds, and birds, real birds, not mechanical ones, sang for the first time in years. The whole world seemed reborn, but deep beneath the forest, in the hidden chamber where the great crystal pulsed quietly, something had changed. Sam sat beside Lyra, who lay motionless on the stone floor. Her breathing was soft, but her skin glowed, faintly with a strange light that moved beneath her veins like liquid fire. Come on, Lyra, he whispered, brushing a strand of her silver hair away from her face. You promised you'd wake up. The core hummed behind him, gentle now, almost like a heartbeat. Sam could feel its rhythm pulsing through the ground and into his body. Every few seconds, the light from the crystal matched the faint shimmer under Lyra's skin. It was as if they were connected now. She and the forest, one living soul shared between two worlds. Then suddenly, she gasped and opened her eyes. Sam let out a shaky laugh of relief. You scared the life out of me. Lyra blinked slowly, confusion clouding her face. Sam? Her voice was soft, distant. Where are we? We're safe, he said gently. You did it, Lyra. The forest's alive again. Her gaze wandered to the glowing roots above them, then down to her own hands. The silver markings had spread, curling up her neck and across her shoulders like vines made of light. It feels different, she whispered, like I can hear everything breathing. Sam frowned slightly. Everything? She nodded. The roots, the animals, even the wind. They're all part of me now. He sat back slowly, unsure whether to feel amazed or afraid. You merged with it, he said softly. The forest's energy. It's in you. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, focusing. The chamber lights brightened at her command. A small vine near the wall sprouted new leaves as if answering her thoughts. Yeah, Sam muttered, rubbing his forehead. Definitely in you. Lyra smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. There's a cost, she whispered. I can feel it. He looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Her voice trembled slightly. The bond isn't meant to last forever. The forest uses life to heal itself. My life, Sam froze. No, that's not happening. She reached out, touching his arm gently. Sam, it's already happening. Every pulse I feel from the core. It takes a little more of me. He shook his head stubbornly. Then we'll find a way to stop it. We'll cut the link or... Sam, she interrupted softly. If you break it, the world dies again. He looked at her, speechless. The firelight from the crystal painted his face in gold and shadow. His jaw tightened, and for a moment he couldn't meet her gaze. I just got you back, he said finally, voice breaking. You can't ask me to lose you now. Lyra smiled sadly. Maybe that's what this bond was meant to teach us, that life always asks for something in return. They sat in silence, listening to the gentle hum around them. The forest's energy seemed to breathe with her heartbeat, every rhythm echoing through the air. Suddenly, the ground above shook violently. The chamber ceiling cracked, sending dust raining down. Sam jumped to his feet. What now? Lyra's expression hardened. They're here. He looked toward the tunnel entrance. Red light flashed through the mist. Droids again. Only this time, their armor was darker, sleeker. These weren't scouts. These were executioners. Stay here, Sam said, grabbing his rifle. Lyra caught his wrist. No, this time I fight with you. Before he could argue, she stood. The markings on her skin flared to life, bathing the room in soft silver light. She raised her hand and the roots above them began to move. When the first droid appeared, its scanners locked onto her instantly. Biological anomaly detected, it droned. Terminate. But before it could fire, the ground erupted. Roots shot upward, coiling around the droid's limbs and crushing it like paper. Sam watched in awe as Lyra stepped forward, her expression calm but fierce. Every time she moved, the forest responded. Branches twisted, roots lashed, and light flowed like a living river. But with every pulse, Sam saw her growing weaker. Her steps faltered. Her glow flickered. He ran to her side, firing at another droid that broke through the wall. You're burning yourself out, he shouted. She smiled faintly. Then let me burn bright. The last of the droids fell in a burst of sparks, their red eyes fading. The forest grew still again. Lyra sank to her knees, breathing hard. Sam caught her before she collapsed. You did it, he whispered, holding her close. They're gone. Her voice was faint, almost fading. Sam, promise me something. Anything. When I'm gone, don't let them destroy this place again. Protect it. Protect what we rebuilt. He shook his head, refusing the thought. You're not dying, Lyra. She smiled weakly. Maybe not dying. Just becoming something else. Her body glowed one last time, and a soft breeze filled the chamber, carrying the scent of flowers. The light spread from her to the walls, the floor, the roots, until she was no longer just one being, but everywhere. When the glow faded, she was gone. Only her voice remained, whispering faintly through the leaves. Life always finds a way. If someone remembers to care. Sam knelt there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. The crystal pulsed once more, gentle, alive. He reached out and touched it. Don't worry, he whispered, eyes wet. I'll protect it. I'll protect you. Above, the sun rose higher, bathing the reborn world in light. Somewhere in the wind, the forest sighed like a woman's soft laughter, alive, eternal, and human at heart. The sun rose over the reborn world like a golden tide, washing across the trees, mountains, and rivers. The forest shimmered with life. Flowers bloomed where ashes once fell. Creatures that had vanished generations ago returned, their songs echoing through the mist. At the center of it all stood Sam. His clothes were torn, his face marked with scars, but his eyes carried a quiet strength. He stood before the great crystal, now calm, glowing faintly with blue light. It pulsed like a heartbeat, soft and alive. He could still feel her there. Lyra. Not as a body or a ghost, but as a voice within the wind, as warmth in the soil beneath his feet. The forest itself had become her. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper in the roots carried her presence. "Good morning," Sam murmured to the air. "You'd love this sunrise." A soft breeze brushed his face in reply, carrying the scent of wildflowers. He smiled. "I'll take that as a yes." It had been months since the final battle. Sam had built a small cabin near the heart of the forest, just beside the ancient core. He spent his days tending to the land, planting, repairing, and defending, because though the world had begun to heal, not everyone wanted it that way. Rumors had spread through the outer colonies. Whispers of a living planet, a source of unlimited energy. Mercenaries, scavengers, and scientists had begun to arrive, each wanting a piece of it. Sam had driven them all away. He wasn't the soldier he once was. But he had something better, purpose. And every time he stood guard over the glowing forest, he knew he wasn't alone. One evening, as twilight painted the sky violet, the sensors around his cabin began to beep. Sam grabbed his rifle and stepped outside, his boots crunching over the moss. In the distance, a group of armored figures moved through the fog, 5 of them carrying high-tech equipment. Their leader raised a scanner toward the forest. "Energy levels off the charts," she said. "If we capture the source, the council will pay us enough to retire on a luxury moon." Sam sighed quietly. "Always about money," he muttered. He stepped out of the shadows and called, "You're trespassing." "Turn back now," the group froze. "Who the hell?" "I said turn back," Sam repeated, his voice calm but cold. The leader smirked. "You're just one man." Sam's lips curved into a faint smile. "I'm not alone." As she raised her weapon, the ground beneath her trembled. Roots burst through the soil, wrapping around her legs. Her scanner fell, sparking. The others shouted, firing blindly into the trees. But the forest moved like a living creature, branches sweeping, vines tightening. Within seconds, the intruders were disarmed and trapped in glowing roots. Sam walked closer, rifle lowered. "This forest isn't yours to take," he said quietly. "It belongs to everyone, and to her." The leader glared up at him. "Her? You mean that alien freak?" For a moment, the air grew colder. The leaves above rustled angrily, though there was no wind. A whisper passed through the trees, a gentle feminine tone. "Respect life, or it will not respect you." The woman's eyes widened. "What was that?" Sam looked toward the glowing canopy. "That's her, the one who saved this world. You can thank her by leaving now." He motioned, and the roots loosened. The intruders scrambled to their feet and fled into the mist, their shouts fading into silence. When the last of them disappeared, Sam turned toward the forest again. The air grew calm. The vines retracted. "Nice work," he said softly. A whisper floated through the air, gentle and amused. "You've gotten good at this, Sam." He smiled faintly. "Well, I had a good teacher." "You still worry too much," her voice teased. "But you protect what matters." "That's enough." He looked up through the branches, watching the stars appear. "I just wish you were really here." "I am," she whispered. "Everywhere you look." He closed his eyes, listening. The forest hummed quietly, heartbeats of a world reborn. And in that sound he felt peace. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The humans who came afterward didn't come with greed. They came to learn. Scientists arrived to study the forest with care, inspired by the stories of the human guardian and the spirit of the woods. Sam worked alongside them, teaching, guiding, protecting, sometimes at night. When the wind passed through the trees, he could almost see her, silver hair flowing like light, eyes glowing softly as she stood beside the great core. One evening, as he sat by the fire, a child from one of the new settlements approached him. "Mr. Sam," she asked, "is it true the forest used to be dead?" He smiled. "Yeah, but someone brought it back." The girl tilted her head. "Who?" Sam looked up at the glowing trees. "A friend," he said softly. "She gave everything so the rest of us could live." The child's eyes widened. "Will she ever come back?" He smiled again. "She never left." The child ran off, her laughter echoing through the trees. Sam leaned back, closing his eyes. The forest whispered gently around him, a familiar voice humming a soft tune he once heard her sing. And as the stars shone above the living world they had saved, Sam finally let himself rest. For Lyra was the forest now. Its memory, its heart, its soul. And Sam was its guardian. 2 lives from different worlds, now forever bound. One as the breath of life, the other as its protector. The bond they forged would never fade. For some promises last longer than flesh or time. And somewhere, carried on the wind, a gentle whisper spoke. "You kept your promise, Sam." He smiled. "Always will."